So I'm sitting in the breast surgeon's office. I just had the opportunity to speak with him. This was a 6-month checkup, and he just said everything looks as good as expected. The stretching feeling, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I have, like, if I do something like a yoga exercise or a reach behind the bed to grab something, there's like a stretching sensation that I'll feel under my arm. And he said that that's all within normal, kind of feelings that you would feel considering the surgery. We talked about the reconstruction process and just the options that are available right now and where I'm feeling on that, how I'm feeling led. And so I'm still feeling led that DIEP flap is the right option for me because I don't want to deal with getting implants replaced. We talked about the option of possibly speaking with a surgeon that has just joined the Prisma healthcare system, and so I may explore that option as well. But again, it's not one of those things that, as I told him, that I'm like racing to the finish line to kind of do right now. I'm still like in that discovery phase of finding the right doctor and making sure that everything works logistically with this. We also are going to, or he's going to schedule a mammogram of the right breast because I haven't had one since this all started last year, back in March of 2022. And so I've had a MRI recently, but he said that they don't one doesn't replace the other or anything like that. They kind of complement each other. So he wants to do a mammogram of the right breast and see what those images look like. And so if all is well there, which that's what we hope and believe, then we will just continue on this follow-up schedule that we currently have in place. And I'd see him again in 6 months. And, we'll go from there with what my decision is or was, depending on what has been done since then. Okay, so just a quick check-in again with the breast surgeon. Everything is well. I'll have a breast mammogram of the right breast soon and continue with the follow-up. So thank you, and I'll check back in with another update. Thanks.
All right, so we're leaving the oncologist. Good report, right?
Yes.
Matea's stole her mama's phone.
Yes, so everything is, I guess, as expected, going well. We will follow up again on January 1st at 11:30. Pray that I can get up on time for my appointment, y'all. But yes, just a blessing. We talked about surgery options for reconstruction, but again, not racing to the finish line for that. So I have time. We'll have a mammogram in a few weeks, but they don't anticipate anything, funky with that. So just blessed and thankful, grateful.
In other words, why you keep coming over here? We see you on January 1st. All right, talk to you later.
All right. Okay, so I just want to talk for a second, just to not miss this moment where I am and what I'm feeling. And so I am at my OBGYN's office just to do a yearly annual visit, just to get on track with, all my doctors, just because going through cancer and treatments, everything else just kind of, it gets pushed on the wayside. Like, it gets pushed to the wayside. It's on the back burner. And so it's important to make sure you get on track with every other doctor as well, because your oncologist is not really focused on every other part of your body. They're just trying to make sure they get rid of cancer. And so I'm here for that appointment, and I didn't think anything about it. Like, I know PTSD is real, and I just really didn't think anything about the appointment. And I came in for my exam, and y'all, I walked in the door and everything was fine. I sat down with the note, with the clipboard. I sat down with the clipboard and just started filling out the paperwork, and my eyes just kept fighting back the tears. I was just so emotional. And I can tell you why. I know why I'm emotional, but I just didn't know that I would be emotional. I'm emotional because this is the first time that I'm back in the office since things first started. The last time I was here for a problem visit because I felt something in my breast and, needed to see a provider and, have someone else feel what I was feeling and tell me what to do next. And so that was February 9th, 2022. That was the last time I was here. And so it did not dawn on me that was the last time I was here and like what that would mean coming in today. And so, yeah, I have to admit it was very emotional. It is very emotional. And so these are some of the things that I'm sure, a lot of people don't think about and may not even talk about, but it's a lot of trauma. I'm not even going to say little. There's a lot of trauma associated with the breast cancer diagnosis. And so just something to be mindful of, guys, if you're going out there and you have to kind of revisit steps that you took before everything started, it may be a little emotional for you. And that's okay. It's okay if it is, but we need to identify those times and those moments for what they are. And so, yeah, a little emotional, but I made it through. Had a great visit with my doctor. We're being very thorough. I'm going to have an ultrasound of my thyroid since that's still enlarged. It's been enlarged for many years, but we're going to get a more up-to-date ultrasound of that, than my pap. And so, yeah, we're just making sure this little body keeps on ticking. So just wanted to check in and kind of share that. It's emotional. It's an emotional ride, but we are on it. Didn't ask to be on it, but hey, I'm gonna ride it out. All right. So, all right, guys. Peace. Hello, everyone. So I just wanted to check in and give an update. Now that I've completed like my series of all my appointments with all my providers. So I have, seen the breast surgeon. I've seen the oncologist. Now I've seen my family physician, and I've seen my OBGYN. And so going through a cancer diagnosis, like, you don't realize that it's so like time consuming. The appointments, the infusions, everything like pretty much takes up your whole life. It's a job. I know I've said that before. And so it's so easy to not think about like all the other doctors, all your other preventative type, screenings that you normally would do before cancer. And so my sister, who's also a survivor, I know I've mentioned her before. She's one that has mentioned it before, like, hey, make sure that you still stay up to date with your other doctors as well. And so it took me a minute to kind of get everybody scheduled, but I went ahead and did it. And so I've seen everyone. The appointment, I don't know if I said anything about this before with the family physician, so this may be the first time that I'm even mentioning this, but that appointment went well. Her primary focus at this time is just to try to help me like combat the symptoms of like the joint pain and like my foot pain. I know I've talked about that several times, like my feet hurt so bad and they feel like, I've worked a 12-hour shift first thing in the morning. And so she feels like most of that is like musculoskeletal. And so she has ran all types of labs and, done everything with that to try to like, make sure that there's nothing else going on with it. And pretty much she hasn't identified anything else going on with my body. And so her recommendations right now are that I continue like my vitamin D supplement. B12 levels was a little low, so take that. And then from there, just kind of like, make sure I'm taking a multivitamin, and then try to make sure that I'm using or wearing the right types of shoes to help with like discomforts from foot pain and things like that. And so she recommended several different brands. I was telling her how I currently have Yeezys, which feel amazing on my feet. And so outside of that, she recommended some other brands. I can't even remember right now. And so I'll share more about those brands when I have the opportunity to try them and kind of just, say how, they're working out for me. All right. Next up was the appointment with the OBGYN. This appointment is kind of heavy for me because I was like really emotional. And so I wanted to kind of come back in and talk more about that appointment and like the whole fact that I was so emotional and didn't even know that I was harboring anger towards the doctor that I saw when I came in for that problem visit, and just the whole fact that like the last time I was there was when I came in for the problem visit. And so like cancer, like it's traumatizing. There's a lot of trauma attached to a cancer diagnosis, and when you're going through it, you're so focused on, the battle. So you're so focused on just getting through and doing whatever is necessary to make it through, that you don't really focus on like how you're feeling in the process. And so most of like what I'm sharing about how I'm feeling in the process is coming now that, sorry, I have neighbors in the neighborhood. I'm outside, so I have neighbors walking through. Hey. Most of what I'm sharing now is that like I'm experiencing things now that like I've been able to process things. And so I didn't even know like I was feeling how I was feeling until I got in that moment. And so walked into the OBGYN's office, kind of checked in, did the basic things, nothing spectacular about that. And it like hit me like as I was sitting down filling out like the paperwork. Like I just sat down and I started filling out my paperwork, and all of a sudden like all these emotions just rushed me like all at once. And I'm like, oh, like I'm about to cry, like I'm about to lose it. And I'm like trying to talk to myself and like say, calm down, like don't be upset, like it's okay, you got this, and get myself together, because I don't want people looking at me like, what is wrong with her, why she's having a meltdown. And so like I struggled like that whole time with like fighting back, but I fought it back. And so we get in the room after you got your vitals checked, got placed in a room, and I'm still kind of like fighting it a little bit, like what is wrong with you, what's going on? And it's like, girl, the last time you were here was when you came in because you felt something in your breast, and that something ended up being a really big deal. Like it's not just like, oh, we just wiped it under the rug and everything was fine. Like it was a big deal going in for a problem visit, and then everything else within weeks, everything else turned and changed my life forever, changed my whole family's like dynamic, everything forever. And so like it was like just being in there that like everything rushed back to me, and I was able to sit there and realize the last time I was here, like I went in and everything in my life was amazing. Everything felt normal to me. I was, like I said, I had my baby girl who was 9 or 8 months at the time when I went in for that appointment, and everything was going fine with that. It was nothing that really like worried me. And then I left out of there like with that uneasy feeling that something might be wrong, something could be wrong. I even mentioned before, I know I've shared this before when I first shared like information about that appointment, how the doctor was basically kind of like good luck, and so here I am back in that office, and I'm picking up with what I had left off on, which was, it's probably not cancer, but we need to do an ultrasound, and basically good luck, hope everything turns out okay. And I didn't realize until after I had spoken with, so the appointment happens. Let me back up. So the appointment happens, and the doctor comes in, and so Dr. White is his name. I had seen this provider when I first got pregnant with Matea, and I saw him like maybe once more in the pregnancy. Amazing doctor, personality, oh my gosh, amazing, great bedside manner, all of that. The only reason why I didn't see him for all the other appointments is because I got put with the nurse practitioner who was just as amazing, and so I just kind of stuck with her up until I got to the end of the pregnancy, and she's like, well, I can't deliver, so you got to see providers at this point to figure out who you may want to deliver the baby, if you get a choice. And if you don't, then maybe one of those things where you just got to go with whoever comes in, and you don't want to be surprised on that day and have someone that you've never met before come in and deliver your baby. And so I understood that, and so I saw Dr. White again, and I saw a few of the other doctors. I would have loved for Dr. White to deliver Matea. However, he was going to be going on vacation, and I already knew that. And so when we talked about like scheduling my induction and all of that,
he told me about the doctor who ended up, delivering her, and was like, he's going to do an amazing job and all that good stuff. And so, I was cool with it, and we rolled with it. I had an amazing delivery, no issues there. And so when the problem visit happened, I know I shared that before, when I scheduled that appointment, I was just like, I wanted to see a provider, because at this point, I feel like all the providers are amazing, so it shouldn't matter who I see. I just want to see, an MD. I want to see the MD, not the nurse practitioner this time, not that they're not capable. It was just like, let me just see the doctor, because they may have more experience with what this is that I'm feeling. Okay, do that. And again, I end up with a doctor who pretty much makes me feel like, good luck, And so as I'm sitting there for my appointment, now with Dr. White, I'm realizing, as he's asking me, he's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been 2 years since I've seen you. How's the baby? Show me pictures and all of this great stuff. And I'm like, what? He remembers all this? I'm like, okay, cool. We show pictures. I talk about Matea and, chit chat, catch up on that. And then from there, he's like, so what's been going on? And he's so warm and bubbly, how he always is. But I'm like, he can't know what I've been through. There's no way he knows, because his response and how he's acting doesn't match. So I'm like, I'm good, everything's good now, things are settling out. And I'm like, you don't know, do you? And he's like, no, what? And I'm like, what has happened? A lot has happened since the last time I saw you. And so I bring him up to speed. I'm like, hey, the last time I was in here, I came in for a problem visit where I felt something in my breast. And he's like, yeah, I saw that in the notes. And so he's like, everything, what was wrong? Everything's good, right? And I'm like, no, it was a big problem. It was a big deal. I was like, it was cancer. And so his whole demeanor changes at that moment. And you can tell he's like, oh my God, had no idea. And so, I don't go into all of what, I had to go through. I'm like, hey, did chemo, didn't have to do radiation, did surgery, just the basic health background, real quick type, let me bring you up to speed. And he's like, man, I didn't know, that's crazy. I have to tell, the doctor that delivered me, he's like, I have to tell him, because, he left and he's with another group now, out of state. And I'm like, okay, how's he doing? Yeah, tell him, share all that with me. And so he's like, yeah, I'll share. And then he's like, well, yeah, I'll make sure I tell Dr. Batson too, although I'm sure he probably already knows. And my immediate response, without even thinking of it, was well, he must not, because I never heard from him. And he's like I can tell he didn't even know how to respond. But I'm like, clearly he doesn't know, because I never heard from this guy. The last time I heard from him, he basically told me good luck. And so at that point, I'm like, dang, I'm mad, I'm mad. And I get emotional again, and I'm telling him hey, I'm sorry. It's just everything is coming back to me in this moment, where I realized the last time I came in here and something was wrong. It ended up being a big something. It ended up being a big deal. And so I'm just really trying to process all of this. And he, of course, as amazing as he is, he's like, I understand. I get it. You've been through a lot. And so, yeah, it's traumatizing. It's a lot of trauma. I've realized that essentially you have PTSD associated with your diagnosis. What I went in and the emotions that hit me, that's, all kind of forms of PTSD, because that was a stressful, traumatic event that I went through. And so we can't just sweep it under the rug. We can't pretend like it didn't happen. And so, not that I'm trying to immerse myself in all these emotions and what I went through, all at this time in this moment, but as these emotions come back to me, it's important to identify what it is that I'm feeling and feel those things and go through it. And so I just wanted to share that. It's a lot. And so we just get through it, and we have to feel, we have to acknowledge, and we have to, just kind of talk through and work through what it is that we went through, because we went through a lot. So all my people out there who is either going through a breast cancer diagnosis now, or you're on the other side of it, I get it. we in this together. And so I don't know what some of you others have been experiencing, or how you guys are coping or managing. I don't necessarily have any coping skills or anything right now. I don't have any practices that I'm doing to get through. I'm at the point where I'm acknowledging the trauma, and so I just want other people to acknowledge the trauma right now. So I wanted to talk about that. In terms of everything else with the visit, everything else went well. At this point, he was like overkill with everything, because he's like, you've been through so much, like we don't want to play around and miss anything. So he's like, hey, you're not due for a pap smear, but do you want to just go ahead and do it? I'm like, why not? Let's do it. So we did that, got the results back. Everything's negative with that. So yay. Female reproductive side of things is checking out to be just fine, which is all I could ask for. He also wanted to do a ultrasound of my thyroid. Any medical professionals that are looking at this video probably notice I have an enlarged thyroid. It's something I've had for quite some time now. So I get my thyroid levels checked frequently. I've had an ultrasound done in the past. We talked about that. The only thing is I couldn't remember when the ultrasound was done, and it was done at another facility, and he didn't have access to the results. And so since it had been so long, didn't have access to it, he's like, hey, let's get another ultrasound. Let's just, be on the safe side or whatever. And so had that done just the other day on Friday. And so all of that came back clear. No nodules, ain't nothing. It was basically the words, quote unquote, unremarkable. So nothing fancy or spectacular going on with my thyroid, other than the fact that it's just enlarged. So we'll just continue to do whatever we're doing. I'm sure, I haven't spoken with them yet, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be the plan, just to continue to, check the levels and monitor and go from there. So, in closing, everything turned out well with all the appointments. I'll be on my, follow-up plan with my PCP, follow-up plan with my OB, follow-up plan with the dermatologist, follow-up plan with oncology, follow-up plan with the breast surgeon. Everybody, we're just all one big happy family right now, and that's how it is right now. So everything is good. I literally was praying in the room during the ultrasound, because I remember going in for that breast ultrasound and not really thinking that anything would have been wrong. And I was like, hey, I can't go into these appointments just kind of like unprepared. So let me pray and plead the blood and make sure, I'm in a space where I'm good. And so I did that, and praise God, everything came back normal. So I am extremely grateful. I'm extremely excited, as you can tell, just to be able to share this with anyone out there that's watching, that, hey, again, acknowledge anything that you went through, because it's traumatic. We've been through trauma. Remember to stay on top of your other doctors and your other wellness appointments and visits as well. And just be encouraged that I get it. I get what, you guys are going through. I get what you've been through. And so, here we are. And so we keep pushing. And in it, we continue to, show gratitude and be grateful. So thank you guys. Didn't mean for this video to be this long, but y'all know how I am. I like to talk. So sorry about that, but thank you. All right, guys, I'll check in later. Bye.